Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snitbits,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things,
And like I was locked in right away.
the pre-review with Super Gummy Guru,
Preview.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy. Let's go to the poster wall.
And welcome to The Real Study Season 1, Episode 34. My name is Mr. Snidbits, and with me, as always, we have all the movie things. And Mr. Marvelite is weirdly not over there.
I am a disembodied
He's
boy.
here. He's here, I promise. And of course, we have our special guest, Superhero Talk from TikTok, also known as Michael. And we will be reviewing only 2 movies tonight. We'll be reviewing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, as well as Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Of course, I had to pick the 2 movies that had really long titles. Let's move on over to the drive-in and say hello to everyone. Hey, guys, how's your week been?
Hey, there I am.
There you are.
There you are.
Man, I feel
Have
like
you
I
guys-
should be the guest on this show.
You should be the what?
I feel like I should be the guest. I haven't been on it for so long.
I'm the rusty one right now.
Time on is more, it's tenure more than it is how long it's been, I think. And hello, Aina. Aina is here to say hello. So we're going to be discussing 2 films, but before we do that, we're going to be talking to Michael about what he does, as well as, how he got started and all that. So why don't we move right into that, Michael? Can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you're doing in the world today, as far as social media and whatnot?
Absolutely. Your poor audience. Okay, so well, background, I guess, if you want to go we'll go in the MCU timeline order. So I guess phase 1 is I come from the world of media, covering Marvel, entertainment, comics, movies, TV, that kind of stuff. That for about a decade. Was a blast. Loved it. Kind of miss it now. I see a lot of the young guys going to carpets and covering things. One of our favorites, Donovan Rose, who is fully entrenched in the carpet circuit. I'm just getting flashbacks from me covering those like 4 nights a week. But
Oh man,
great time. Love it. And I'm a huge comic book fan, MCU fan. Just dive deep into anything I can get my hands or eyes on. So that's kind of like my passions. And then, of course, the last, I think, 2 months, me and Marvelite have been, you could say, consumed by Nerd Initiative.
You guys have matching hats, it looks like there. You guys are.
Yeah, the hat doesn't come off. I sleep in the hat. So
Yeah, I can't get this one off. For whatever reason, it's sucking the life out of me.
And it replaced an Avengers hat, which was a crucial hat in Marvelite's life. Tell us more about Nerd Initiative, Michael.
yeah, so we, a couple months ago, we started talking about what we could do and how we could kind of extend things. And I brought in, obviously, my baggage from 10 to 15 years covering this stuff and the things I've always wanted to do. And he has, obviously, his knowledge and insight. And I could give you 100 more platitudes and adjectives to describe his talents.
He's a
and we
sweet talker.
kind of
I'll pay him later.
yeah,
I mean, he's on the show for a reason. I think there's a reason. I don't know, I'm just putting it up.
I'm kissing up. But yeah, we just started talking about what we could do, and we really wanted to create like a safe, creative space to kind of collaborate and bring a bunch of people together. All the movie things. We are going to figure out an alternative to Discord. I promise you.
Yeah, we're looking at it.
You're not the only person.
Looked at it right now, or like they look like Discord, so it's like
My wife hates
Figure out
Discord too. She refuses to even come into the one horror thread I made for her. She's like, nah.
Oh, funny.
So you're not the only one.
Hey, snail mail, smoke signals. We'll figure something out that
Yeah.
works that we can, all do. But
Pigeons.
yeah, I mean, the main
Send a
thing
raven.
really. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
No, I was gonna say the main thing really was really I think we both wanted to create kind of like a playground. I always keep saying it's like a sandbox, and
Yeah.
just kind of like
Mhm.
just basically bust the doors wide open with like the ideas. And I think we have not said no to an idea yet.
Right.
As far as like whether it's video stories, whatever. So that's kind of where it goes. And there's a lot of stuff to come, and we're learning a lot in the meantime. So yeah.
That's
What's
awesome.
great is we're at the phase now where it's not even us just coming up with ideas. Like the pool of people that we have are so excited that they're thinking outside the box. Like that's the great thing when you have a great group of people. And I'm not trying to fluff anybody that's here that are a great group of people, but like we've had some amazing, not just talent, but just forward thinking people that want to see something new. And I really feel like we're at a place where that was something that was sorely needed. You lived by the algorithm of TikTok, or
Yeah.
you depended on the subscriber stream of Twitch. When really people should be valued by the content that they provide, not the number of followers they generate. So yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
And the stories we've gotten from people too, and then I'll shut up after that. But the stories we've gotten from people too have just been. I mean, it kind of floors me, and I literally I know I can be a talking hyperbole soundbite. So I think I literally have the automatic responses of like, that's awesome, that's amazing, and people that know me will laugh when I say stuff like that. So I'm self aware of it. But no, I will say like the personal stories and people who have said that they really were waiting for something like this has been just insane to me. I definitely did not expect it, and so there's definitely that burden of like, feel like actually we have to actually come through for these people now. So it's been absolutely amazing. I will say that it's been far and above beyond what I thought it would be.
Full disclosure, I have already also written for the Nerd Initiative and continue to want to contribute. Babies take a lot of time from life, so you gotta take the priorities as they come. And I know that Brian, as was mentioned, has also written for the Nerd Initiative as well. So not to speak for you, sir, of course. So any other bits? I heard a rumor that you might have won an Emmy. Is that true?
Oh yeah, got me back here.
The first Emmy to be seen on the real study. That's pretty
Really?
awesome. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
I feel honored now.
Yeah, no, you
For the
are
award-winning guests.
you are our first Emmy winner, which is awesome. Welcome.
That's great.
So,
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's not. I truly, it's funny. I used to work at ABC News, and I used to work for Good Morning America, and it is 100% was earned through like teams and working with teams and doing things with that community. I actually was talking about this earlier. I left, I'd say like the ether, like I was talking about this, but I was talking about it through other people. A friend of mine who I used to host a show for ABC Inside Marvel, and so we would do like interviews with cast and like comic book writers, and we worked with Marvel and Lucasfilm and whatever. And I mean, I always am going to trump myself, and my co-host just won a Pulitzer.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool up until that moment, and then basically for creating like the visual comics through Business Insider, and so
that's awesome.
yeah, I mean,
Nice.
yeah.
But still, congratulations regardless. Teamwork
you, I
still
appreciate it.
matters. So yeah, that counts without a doubt.
I got one degree of
So
separation.
that makes me excited, because that means if I stick with Michael, at least I'll get a Pulitzer at some point.
Yeah. Or Nobel Prize, or who knows.
The good luck Chuck scenario. Everybody.
I'll take a
I was just
Razzie
gonna
at this
say
point.
that.
Yeah.
Great minds, Mike.
There was I will not lie to you. This has nothing to do with my professional background, but there was a time where I dated, I think it was at least 3 girls back to back to back in college and grad school. They all got married after breaking up with me. So I fill in the good luck Chuck prophecy 110%.
That's that, and we all have to have weird scenarios that fill out the universe of our stories. So somebody will be somebody that fits that movie. I think that's what I found, at least. With that said, thank you for telling us about your current concepts and ideas and Nerd Initiative and all that good stuff, and some of your history. But let's move on to talking about movies, because that's why we're always here. The first movie we're going to talk about is, of course, Multiverse of Madness, and this is the newest Marvel release. This, of course, stars Benedict Cumberbatch, as well as wow, did I really not have that up already? Damn terrible. As well as wow, I'm doing terrible tonight, guys. Mr. Marvelite, you're better at this. You should take over and tell people about the movie because I have failed.
Okay, so we're we're talking about what Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, the latest movie in the Marvel Studios thing until next week or the week after, when we get Love and Thunder. This is a Sam Raimi event. This is his first foray into Marvel since the infamous Spider-Man 3.
Mm.
So this is definitely a great take, and also a fulfillment of prophecy, because in Spider-Man 2, we know that he had a Easter egg to Doctor Strange.
Mhm.
They were trying to name Dr. Ock, and of course, it's just a nice little nod to how great things can happen. So
Oh, look, Lala's in the chat. Hello, Lala. Lala's, of course, Black Girl Marvel. She is our other co-host, and she could not make it. Sorry that you could not meet her in person or in person.
Virtual, yeah.
Virtual person. Thank you. We've also got Elizabeth Olsen, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Benedict Wong. Cannot pron- cannot pronounce her name. Ms. Gomez. I cannot pronounce her first name.
Is it
Sochi Gomez.
Sochi.
Yes.
I will try to remember that. Rachel McAdams, and more. So this is one of those movies that, as hard as Marvel seems to be trying, they have to palette these movies individually to a wider audience. But this movie hinges so much on so much that came before it that is a different. This is kind of a different movie for them in a lot of ways. Most of their movies are origin stories or continuation stories for characters that, sure, it's Doctor Strange, but have all these layers that led to it. So, Michael, what was your initial impression of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness?
I love that I get to go first because I saw a couple of smirks when we. I feel like this movie. I always say the mark of a great movie is the more you see it, the better it gets. This one I don't really fit that bill. Like I think it's a good movie. I've seen it, I think twice or three times now, and I think it's good. Um, but it didn't like grow as the more I saw it. And so I I thought it's one of the most ambitious, unique, classically Sam Raimi movies that it was the only classically Sam Raimi movie that Marvel's ever made because I don't think Spider-Man
Yeah.
1 or 2 was like a gore movie, like a horror movie. But I thought it was super unique, ambitious. I appreciated the Raimi-esque quality of it. I do think there were some cuts and some storytelling parts there that I didn't digest well. So overall, I thought it was like a 7 out of 10 kind of film where it's like it's a solid Marvel movie, but it didn't knock my socks off. It also didn't help that it came right after No Way Home, which I thought was incredible.
And that can have an effect. Mr. Marvelite, let's get through what Mr. Marvelite thinks.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, this is the first Phase
Rolling up
4
the sleeve.
film. I know this is the. I almost took my hat off and threw it.
It's
by the
TED
way,
Talk time. Let's go.
I can't believe you rated it so low, but we're not even doing ratings yet. So that's fine. So here's the thing: this is the first MCU film that is directly referencing something from the Disney Plus shows. We have not gotten that with Shang-Chi, Eternals, No Way Home. We have not had that. The only way you would say it was a reference to No Way Home, to Rogers the Musical on the billboards, but that was it. You have this. You have this show WandaVision that has led up to this, and I think this is part of the problem that this movie has done, and it's not necessarily this movie's fault specifically. It's kind of something that I think Feige is now trying to backpedal and fix, which is we don't know where all of these movies fall in the timeline after Endgame, because even now there are concerns about where these movies are falling from what in the timeline of Disney Plus. But here's what we do know, and this is where a lot of people have a concern when it comes to Wanda Maximoff as the Scarlet Witch. How can she be as evil as she is? Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen the film, and if you haven't, leave and come back.
This is a spoiler-filled show.
Just put us on mute until my lips stop moving, and at that point we should be good. Uh, so that means in 2 hours we will be done. But basically, how could Scarlet Witch, who seemed to have been making amends for what she did at Westview and is able to bring down the hex, how could she become this evil Scarlet Witch? And it's very understandable when you consider that WandaVision took place weeks after Endgame, and then from that we then have um, Spider-Man Far From Home, which is taking place the following summer. So there's been a summer since Endgame. The following summer is because they've already had to go through a whole new school year. They're now going on a summer trip, and we have that event going on. Then you consider the fact that um, no Way Home takes us from that the end of that summer in Far From Home and gets us through the fall and winter of that following year. So we've got about a year and a half at this point. And then considering that, and mind you, this is like this is where you start pulling out things. And well, this goes to this, and this goes.
I was
to
just
that.
gonna say right now I'm picturing the Charlie Day meme
But then if
of
you
all the
consider
strings, and you're
in
yeah.
in the opening battle with Gargantos in the New York street, people are still wearing jackets, which means that we're at least in like
Oh, man.
we're in like the late winter, early spring. And so we're looking at maybe probably March, April, May when multiverse hits, which means it's been almost 2 years that she has had the Darkhold in her possession. And if you consider what the Darkhold did to that entire area, that's what it's been doing to them, especially when Doctor Strange has had it for only a matter of hours, and we see how it affected him long term. So this was like an opening discussion, and then I just went down the rabbit hole.
When you had the jackets thing, I just pictured me in on the golf green, just like picking up the grass and then going like that.
Let me break it down.
And win.
So,
I was going to say
So,
your
yeah.
name is Mr. Marvelite for a reason.
You
Like, there's a
seriously?
reason.
so here's what here. Let me go back. Let me rewind back to the real study like format.
Okay.
First of all, the most Sam Raimi film that I've seen in a while. This gave me Evil Dead vibes in a lot of ways. This expounded upon what I really liked in Spider-Man 2 when we got that whole surgery scene with Doc Ock.
Yeah.
It gave us a lot of that. You know, he really does a great job at the horror aspect, even though the film might not be completely a horror film. There are lots of hidden gems in this film and things to break down and answers that people have been fighting over for the last year when it comes to power sets and who's more powerful. I mean, this film directly answers it in a lot of ways.
Sam wrote it as far, well, maybe
Yes.
he didn't write it, but whoever wrote
And
it
listen, you
specifically
might
did
get Evan
address that.
Carter,
So
and you might be split in your position, but I will tell you right now, there are lots of different like points that I think that this film has that makes it a very strong contender for one of the best of Phase 4. And I'm as much as I love No Way Home, it leaned in the nostalgia. This is the first film that really references something
Right.
within its phase and then gives us a promise
But
for
didn't
something
rely
down
solely
the
on
road.
right.
yeah,
And the
rely so
promise
much on
movies are
nostalgia.
fantastic. So I'll go ahead and stop talking.
you're
the
good. No,
writer,
you're
by the way-
excited. You're excited. That's important.
Caught my eye. The writer was Michael Waldron, who directed Loki, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And been dealing with some other multi-universal stuff with Rick and Morty and such. All the movie things. Let's hear your initial take on Multiverse of Madness.
Everything Tony said.
All right. So
Just to
moving
save
on. No, I'm
time.
kidding,
No.
of course.
No, I really enjoyed it. I do agree with a lot that like both Tony and Michael have already kind of stated. It was like I loved a lot of it. I love the Sam Raimi aspect of it. It was really great to see them just kind of let him do his thing, which I was really surprised by. I thought they were kind of like gonna reel him in a little bit, but it was great to see a lot of those moments. I remember like seeing it with my partner and was like, kind of excited to see these. Oh, that's a Sam Raimi thing, and hoping she understood what that meant. But, but there's a lot of, I just felt like there's like a lot of these pieces to it that were great, but then it had some trouble like piecing them together at points and making it kind of feel those transitions anyway just didn't feel smooth enough. I loved Wanda. I mean, man, I was like rooting for her just to like just just to burn it all down. Just just like go Wanda, just this is what, you deserve it. But I mean, does unleash her, so but I will say like it probably is one of the better phase 4 films, as like Tony mentioned. And even though I loved No Way Home, but it does, rely heavily on some nostalgia and whatnot. Although I really do love Shang-Chi though. Shang-Chi is up there for me too, as well as, although it doesn't connect as much as so far, anyways, we know what we know it. But yeah, I still enjoyed it, but it probably wasn't like my favorite.
So middle of the road, phase 4.
Um, yeah, I'd say. Well, I've overall MCU, not just not just phase 4, but I'd say overall it's middle of the road MCU films.
So of the three, because I kind of put MCU films in the bottom tier, middle tier, top tier. Put it in there.
Yeah, I'm not understanding what you're.
So
what do you mean?
if you took all 28 of the films and
Yeah.
shows and broke them into
Yeah, it would be
3/3,
somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm gonna be kind of more on the Marvelite side on this. This movie, I think, is
I knew I liked you.
super solid. I was laughing, I had fun, I was excited. I sat up at a few points. If I sit up during a movie, it usually tells me how much I'm liking it. Most Marvel movies that I like, I tend to sit on the edge of my seat, and this got me there. I think once they got to 868, started running around, I was going. And I think this film does rely on some nostalgia as well, but it's a different kind of nostalgia, and it's not all Spider-Man, which is like everybody's favorite superhero ever, even if they don't admit it. Um, he was the poster boy for Marvel until Iron Man, so like Spider-Man's always kind of been the Marvel character. So I think we all were excited about that, and who's gonna say they didn't love that movie? But the nostalgia with Professor X in this film, spoilers, I didn't say spoilers. Nostalgia with Professor X in this film, or even like this kind of weird pseudo future nostalgia of Mr. Fantastic, were bits for me that I was like, oh, this is great. And they almost took like a Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe approach when they started throwing Wanda at all the other or heroes. And I don't know, I'm just it as much as it's shallow, that kept me drawn in enough. And maybe after 5 viewings, I'm like, all right, by the guy, fine, but it still drew me in. And Sam's approach to the story kept being me excited every time I got to see a weird eyeball or the weird 50 camera that Sam uses in all of his films. They let him off the chain. He needed another horror movie in his filmography. What better than Zombie Strange to?
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think? I mean, maybe we can get a Marvelite cut of I know it just came
With
out
the
on
commentary.
digital, but like I will say, like, no, honestly, like there's been a couple things that I think there's been a couple things that Tony has said in the past, whether it be on TikTok or just in person, we've talked about it, where it's made the movie better, like explaining these things. And I think the one
Yeah.
a couple days ago, he talked about how like um I didn't think about it that, was there another way that Endgame could have ended? And he said that
Yeah.
there definitely wasn't, because the Illuminati showed that, oh, spoiler, that they were left exposed in that universe because obviously Wanda came through and just decimated the entire team. But like that stuff makes you think. But I think also at the same time, for me, I guess I love thinking about it and learning and growing with the movie. But at the same time, I don't know if I would have thought of that if not having Tony in my ear. So yeah, if we can get like a little Bluetooth piece where that comes with like the Blu-ray or whatever, that Tony can kind of go through and narrate some things like this is why.
Okay, I will admit this. So like, and again, I'm gonna admit this to public. I've already made penance of this like 3 times. I have not completed watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is why you're gonna get a whole lot of content from me from this movie, because
Yeah.
I could just spew it out. But my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law were here today, and I was showing off my sound system, and I pulled up Disney Plus, and he goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wait! Multiverse of Madness is out," and I'm like, "Yes." And like I just turned it on, and I think they were supposed to have left like within 30 minutes of me starting the film, but of course we finished the film.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
it was hilarious because I actually stopped the movie at certain parts. Like the first thing I had to do to rope him in was that whole scene with Gargantos. Like I had to stop and show him how the same guy ran past Strange like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And it just cracked him up. I'm like, that's a Raimi thing.
Oh
Because
yeah.
that's from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like he had the same person walking around Norman Osborn and Peter.
People don't think
Peter-
that was somewhat on purpose. That
Yeah,
they're not
it's
paying
like
attention.
The red hair, the one with the red hair.
listen, when I was in college, I actually made a Star Wars spoof film, and I intentionally made every mistake possible. Like they would, like I would cut from one scene to the next, and the guy was wearing a different shirt because I thought that stuff was funny, and I think I share Sam Raimi's sense of humor, and so for me that stuff was great. But then, like there were certain things that he like my brother-in-law was watching, and he was asking questions, and I would stop and I would explain it, or I would say just watch for this, and then I would explain the importance and like having that discussion about the movie, I think helped make it enjoyable for him, but it made it even more enjoyable for me because I was able to actually talk about it in real time. So like I need to sit with like a notepad and like talk to somebody who's never seen it before because it's really interesting how even after seeing it as many times as I have, it was a more enriching experience for myself showing it to somebody who had never seen it before.
So something Michael mentioned a few minutes ago is kind of growing and learning as the films progress. And the thing I love about MCU films is that this film will be different after Thor: Love and Thunder. Even after a few more films and shows come out, we're going to look back and see how they all connect. And even going back to Captain America's First Avenger, I really didn't like that movie when it came out. I was lackluster and bored with it. Now it's a lot cooler than it was just because of its sheer connection. So there's something about it being part of a larger universe that slightly elevates it. The worry is that they'll make enough films that aren't good and it'll weigh them all down. So the balance.
But I also think what happens is there are going to be films that we watch over time where it may not have hit at first, but then something else is going to happen, and we're going to be like, "That's why that movie was the way it was." It makes more sense because Endgame elevated my perception of Thor: Dark World. So there is that where Marvel. See, that's the thing. I think the problem. Everyone expects every Marvel movie now to be a No Way Home level movie
Or an Endgame movie, right?
or an Endgame level movie, but then they also don't realize that this is a movie, this is an installment in a universe. And regardless of whether you really enjoy this film now, the relevance that this has down the road for years. I mean, the word incursion got me so excited, like I was like shaking in my seat because that whole concept for me within like it lets me know we are getting super secret wars at some point in this universe and the possibilities and I'm like okay now what other references toward an incursion are there what else is going on.
So this also invites a lot of other questions, and we need to let the other half of the panel, I think, jump in a little bit here. But let's ask the question as well.
Sorry.
What more are we going to get from them? Because there's still so many baddies. Galactus, there's Annihilus, there's so many other baddies to bring back in, and then any number of X-Men characters that they want to revamp are fair game now. So there's so much potential, and I don't know. What do you two think?
I want to let Brian talk.
Uh-oh.
Because I can talk forever, so I want to be
The
mind my
pressure.
manners.
I mean, I don't know what more. I mean, Tony's kind of like running with the ball here, but
I'm
I
sorry.
mean, no, you're good. No, I love it because I don't always look at all of them like that, especially like first time going in. I'm kind of just like trying to like look at it as a fresh film, and it is interesting how they like how do you because I'll definitely see some of these movies with people that haven't seen, every single show or movie or whatnot, or may not even know anything about the comics in general. And so I can imagine from a filmmaking perspective trying to make this film, so it is interesting that they got Sam Raimi and I had heard somewhere that he didn't really watch a lot of the stuff prior to making this film. I don't know, is that right, Tony? Like he didn't watch WandaVision or didn't really
Well,
watch the whole thing. Just got
WandaVision
like a
and
synopsis
Multiverse of
of it.
Madness were in a sense they were still relatively new.
Yeah, that's right.
I think they
So
were
they're
still like, because if I remember correctly, like they were still filming some of
yeah,
WandaVision
that's
while
right.
Multiverse of Madness was in production. So it's
Yeah.
kind of, they had to go based off of. I'm pretty sure he had to have seen some of the scripting and
Yeah,
and some of the notes
right.
for what they were planning on doing.
Yeah. So even then, that's still a challenge, even to just like just have like a synopsis or a story idea, and then try to like build things from that. So I try to look at films from that and try to like appreciate what they're trying to do, from the challenge perspective. Um, I will say like um the cinematography was pretty great in that it was I mean, of course, it's Sam Raimi he kind of has that influence, but still, it's the cinematographer is the one that has to like really execute those kind of moves. So, um, and this the DP was I'm gonna mess his name up, John Matheson. But he's worked on X-Men First Class and uh, what else has he done? Man from Uncle. He did Logan, which was freaking gorgeous. I love the look of
Yes.
Logan. Um, yeah,
So
it's just a
he's done
beautiful
comic
film
book movies
altogether.
before, some
Yeah,
gritty
so he's done
ones.
comic book films
Yeah.
before, so he kind of like, yeah. So it was interesting to see that and like to dig into into that kind of aspect of things, and because it's not Sam Raimi shooting the movie, you know what I mean? Like he'll have these ideas, and like that's why the director DP relationship is so important. I mean, like it's from Dave. I don't know how much people know this, but like you kind of get your DP almost right away. Like you get the script and you're like, okay, who am I next? You get your DP. Like who am I going to get to shoot this? And then they get their team together. But because from day one, you want to like storyboard it and you want to like walk the locations with the DP. So and I'm sure this DP knows Sam Raimi's or is familiar at least with Sam Raimi's style. So they're gonna talk about those Sam Raimi elements. So I love that kind of stuff about these kind of films, because I don't think Sam
Mhm.
Raimi's worked with this DP before. I may be wrong, but I haven't had time to look into that. It doesn't look like it
I've been
from what
trying
I
to
can
look while you've been
gather. But
talking, but he also did
yeah,
Gladiator, by the way.
yeah, did
So
Gladiator.
that's not a
Yeah,
small
Yeah.
movie.
another gorgeous film.
Not at
Right.
all.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So
it doesn't look like it looks like a lot of work with Ridley Scott.
yeah,
But still, I mean, there's some great film behind Ridley Scott, so the DP behind Ridley
yeah,
Scott have been fantastic. So I see your point.
mhm, yeah,
Um, a lot of people
I like
complain. Oh,
learning
sorry, go
about
ahead.
that. Oh no, I was gonna say like I just like learning that as far as like having worked in that industry to some capacity, but not having the technical expertise that obviously Brian does. It's really interesting and is helpful to learn that stuff. I mean, I come from I know the backstories of a lot of things, right? So like it's interesting to me where you obviously the classic ones like the Adam Sandlers who work with the same cast over and over and over again.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
fascinating to me.
Oh
Or
yeah.
like you see people that pop up that work together early on that stayed
Mhm.
friends. We all
Yeah.
know the famous Vince Vaughn story. He's like best friends with John Favreau, who
Yeah.
also is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the guy who shot his eye out in Christmas Story, is the executive producer on Iron Man. So
And the
all
guy
that
that
stuff.
stands toe to toe with Jeff Bridges, I couldn't do.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I love hearing that stuff. I will say the other thing that I thought of that when Tony was talking about it too, that if you really do think of it as a global perspective, Phase 4 is a complete expansion. So when you mentioned Galactus and we're gonna get Galactus. I mean, come on, Silver Surfer.
Right.
I
Hope
think
so.
I saw
Yeah.
there was something today. I haven't watched it yet. One of those, it was like New Rockstars or something. There was a cut Doom egg that was in there apparently, but you don't see it.
Oh,
But it's
yeah, I
like
heard about that too. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, they are expanding it with. If you think of anywhere from No Way Home to Eternals to
Mhm.
now, I mean, think again the global sense of this whole phase. Like it's all about like multiverse, then cosmic, and now we're looking at
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's just literally expansion, and then it's going to be. Oh, yeah, even from Loki. I mean, it's just literally now it's level set,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
where do you go with those pathways of all these stories that we now have the opportunity to go in like a million different directions? So it's going to be kind of crazy.
to that point, the other directions would include the quantum universe where we have Ant-Man as well. So there's another, like, it's not only bigger but smaller. This is why I was asking about Annihilus, because I'm anxious for Nova. I'm anxious for the Herald. I'm anxious
Oh
for.
yeah.
There's so many amazing space-related characters, and with Guardians, even back in Phase 2, I was like, oh, we're gonna get more of the, and we didn't get most of them. I was like, well, that's weird. It was all just still set up for post Endgame stuff, and I was a little thrown. But at this point, they'd have to make a pretty crappy movie for me to not want to watch it.
Well, I think the hardest part is always to streamline things, right? So when you, as I was saying it, and I'm making myself anxious by saying all the different possibilities, I keep thinking about, like, there's smarter people than I have, that there's smarter people than far smarter than I am that are, I'm sure they made that decision consciously to be like, all right, we're not going to go full blown with Guardians yet. We're going to tease it, get people excited. I think now they might, but at the same time, there's so many different ways they can go. Like, will they actually do the Krasinski Fantastic Four? Will they just, is that just going to be like one of those things that we joked around about and we saw it come to life and that's it?
I want
Will
that.
they do?
Which is funny. There was a quote I recently read that he kind of like alludes to that, where it's like they kind of just, it was like a wish fulfillment thing that they did with casting Krasinski. Here's like, yeah, this is a way we can, give that to the fans that have been wanting this fan casting. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they will, go forward with them.
Now you all know that there was a Doom reference in Multiverse of Madness. Not even, I mean, it wasn't like they didn't mention his name, they didn't mention Latveria, but there is something in the movie that was a point toward Doctor Doom.
So I remember there being two references that, this may not be it, but they did mention the Baxter collective, essentially, and then I know they mentioned the Fantastic Four in the sense that they're in the MCU, because Strange goes, "Didn't you guys back in the '60s, kind of go to space?" So he didn't say that, but there was a project they were. So that those two in itself, by just being Fantastic Four, allude. But go ahead.
So remember when we first meet Mr. Fantastic? The way he comes in is the time platform. And that was a Doom vehicle, basically. Like that was his that is his way of entrance. Like the time platform was used by Doom a lot of times, and that was exactly what that was. When he portaled in, was it was the time platform. So
crazy.
As though it's not a direct reference, that is a major Easter egg for Doctor Doom.
So can we talk about the elephant in the room then? So the elephant in the room for this movie, from my perspective, is how they refer to the MCU 1/6. So, okay. So if you're not a comic book fan, if you've only been an MCU fan or whatever, I'm going to fill you in. The comic book version of the Marvel Universe, where it's the standard, Spider-Man's there, Hulk, the original Avengers, that's Universe 616 and always has been. We have 2099, we have 10,900. The X-Men has their own universe. Everybody does. Even the Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire, has its own number. Why they then decided this universe we know already had a number is now 616 is a weird. I'm gonna leave it at that. Let you guys discuss.
What was it? 1999 before?
It was a ridiculous
9999.
Right.
Yeah.
So is Christine just wrong, or what do you guys think?
I think it's what Brian mentioned earlier. I think Raimi might have just kind of not really, and was like, "Oh, this is cool to put it in there." And
okay, so there is actually a discussion, if you guys have at all followed any of the interviews that Iman Vellani has done for Miss Marvel. There's actually been a discussion where that was brought up, and she actually asked, why, she asked Kevin Feige, why would you assume that the MCU is 616? He's like, because I said it. And she's like, that's not good enough. It's 199999. And so this little girl, I mean, I should say this amazing young woman is going toe to toe with Kevin Feige, which is one of the most endearing things about her.
I know.
But at the same time, there's a reason, and I'm trying to look up the name of the guy right now. There's an executive producer who is on the executive team with Marvel. I'm gonna pull it up real quick. I can't. I think I know his name, but I'm not completely sure I know his name. But he was on the executive team for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And someone had asked him about a multiverse and about 616 and 199999. And I did not stutter there. And so there was this question, are we going to ever get a validation of that? Because there's been Easter eggs throughout the MCU anyway. And he's like, we're not doing the whole, different universes. So I'm pretty sure he wasn't even privy to the discussions of these films, and he was willing to speak out. I would not necessarily declare that the MCU is 616. They can call themselves 616, but we know that based off of the Marvel. Here's the thing. So in the MCU, they call themselves the 616, and just like we call Earth, but everywhere else in the universe it was Terra. And so
Not
so
bad.
there is this concept of you might have this identification of what it is. That's not how everybody else knows you.
Right.
Will they
Yeah.
ever give us the qualification of really we can't be 616? There's another universe 616. Maybe they'll have the incursion with it. And we like well, we're properly designated as 199999 because remember in the MCU multiversal like science has only been theoretical up until this point. And if Scott Lang has anything to do with it, everybody's going to know about everything that's going on.
That Scott Lang podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Glad
which
we're
is
not
like
competing with that. That would
American
not
Life.
go
I
well.
loved it. But absolutely, like so there is this idea that okay, so the universe self references itself as 616. That doesn't necessarily mean it is.
Well, this is people from 868 saying they're 616. People from 616 wouldn't know they were 616 as Marvelite saying, but then Muncie just pointed out, so maybe there's a cinematic 616 and a comic book 616, and they're actually two different worlds.
All right.
But I have
Except the comic book, it's like the what was it the handbook for the Marvel universes designates the MCU as 1999.
I have one
Right.
more.
We
I
can
have,
take that with
this is
Shooter.
this
I'm
is
just saying.
this is my theory that I came up with based upon the little that I can piece.
The
together.
tissues or Kleenex is I
Well, so think of it this. So when there's a
Right.
moment in
The
this film,
Q-tips or
there's a moment in this film
Mothballs?
where Wanda actually breaks the fourth wall. So for just a moment, she
Right.
stares right at us. To
Mhm.
me, combine that with the concept of everything we know about all the different universes and what she, her looking at us and them talking about that in the same film, actually pretty close in scenes even, I think tells me that this is 616. And since the MCU came out of this universe, that's why I'm talking about our real life universe, because she looked at us. She brought us, our universe, into the film by looking. That's
And
a
Strange
stretch.
mocked her though. Strange mocked the whole thing, and
Mhm.
I don't know. It's a
somebody's
stretch.
going around labeling the multiverse.
Yeah,
and
that's
like,
true too.
I love that.
Yeah.
People forget about that part.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well, since you're talking about the breaking of the fourth wall, I will say maybe that's something that also gave it a little bit of a ding for me was, and this might have also been fans, so it might not have. I think the movie definitely and the marketing and the cutting of the trailers definitely played into that. But that whole comparison of Wanda and Strange, comparing Strange what he did in Infinity War, and I've said this vocally before,
Mm.
I thought was such a weird comparison
Mhm.
because obviously there is a history of issues when comparing male and female stars and heroes, and that's a problem that needs to be addressed fully. I thought this is a weird one to compare because I loved her in it, just like Brian was saying. I thought she was a savage in this, and it was great to watch. She was a straight up villain. Like, I mean, she's obviously comes with a
Yeah.
lot of baggage,
Yeah.
but like to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
him giving up the time stone compares in any which way to Thanos, for me that was the weirdest comparison. And she's like, "Oh, you get to be called a hero, and I don't." And I was like, "That's just a weird." It kind of was like a weird comparison to me, and it just like I don't know, it stuck with me that I thought it was kind of it just was strange.
I mean, it's
Pun
called
intended.
Doctor Strange.
No pun intended. Yeah.
Yeah, but you also consider the fact that him giving the time stone once caused her to watch her husband or the love of her life
Mhm.
die twice
Mhm.
in front of her.
Fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, Strange is like, to the side responsible for what happened to some degree. And I don't know. I would have trouble not blaming him to some degree, and she doesn't actually blame him. She literally just says, "Get out of my way."
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of backlash that people are pretty pissed that she's super villain in this bad guy, and I'm like, well, then you haven't read a comic for one.
Yeah.
Just
Oh yeah,
one.
this is like the best House of M we're probably going to get for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
No,
and then
totally.
two, doesn't equal representation mean that women should also be the supervillains? Like, shouldn't we get women in every aspect of everything a male could be in? That's just my thought. So I enjoyed seeing her and seeing a mom, like a person who cared about kids, but could still turmoil with that. I don't know. I talked about that with my wife a lot. It's something that kind of resonated with both of us, maybe as parents. I could defend
Well,
my
peop-
kids across the multiverse kind of thing.
Well, the people that complain about her being too powerful and stuff like that, obviously, to what you said earlier, haven't read a comic, haven't seen it previously, and that was to me that was cool to watch. Like her just decimating people was a fun thing to watch. Like so that argument from fans that were like, oh, there is kind of some kind of bias there, then because obviously it would be cool to see. I was hoping to see the Tom Cruise Iron Man with like the Infinity Stones, like doing something
Right.
really dirty and nasty there
I
too.
am
I mean,
so
nothing
I
fun
am
to
so
watch.
thankful that didn't happen.
But he
But
could
I
have been
mean,
the first one
100%.
dead. I don't know.
But that kind of a character is always fun to watch, and so it shouldn't matter, the gender or whatever it is. So I think that people need to look at it from that perspective as like, again, know the backstory, know the character, and don't pigeon any character into a whole anything.
One of the things I find is really interesting through this film, everybody's like kind of split on Wanda, but if you also consider something that I have not heard people talking about is the fact that when Warren, when I think it was Dr. Nick Warren, sat next to him in the wedding, um, the fact that he looked at him and said, "Was there any other way?" The world not only knows who Doctor Strange is, but knows that he is responsible for
Yeah.
handing over the time stone that led to Thanos getting the Mind Stone, which led to, everybody being gone for 5 years. There are
Mhm.
probably some people who were glad that he gave up that stone because we know there are people that think Thanos was right in the MCU.
Right.
At the same time, there are people that lost a lot. And one of the things I would be interested to see is as mad as Monica Rambeau is with Carol Danvers, what would she be like with Doctor Strange? Because she lost her mother and she had no chance to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like there is an entire world, like this is the reality of the MCU that we're living in right now. I think this is what like all of these shows are giving hints to that makes me so excited is the previous Avengers would not have been able to survive in the MCU as it is now
No.
because they are not accepting of superheroes. They are questioning of the decisions. They have already they are these people that are coming out. I mean, the fact that in Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan is like struggling, like, do I want to do this? I've always wanted these powers, but is it something? Am I good enough to do this? It's the concept that there are consequences to being a hero, and there are
Mhm.
people that are dead set to stop this. And even those people who appreciate, maybe being saved, they look at what they're doing as reckless. And Iron Man would not have survived well with that type of scrutiny, even though he was on the side of oversight. So, it's a whole new world.
I can being a superhero to the same thing as like the time traveler's paradox, right? Like no
Yeah.
matter what, if you have that power to go back in time, I would be paralyzed with fear. Like,
Yeah.
okay, what am I going to change? What
Yeah,
like what's
yeah.
going to be the ramifications? Like nothing I do, like except for going back and telling my previous self, don't eat that hamburger. Be like, hey,
Yeah.
just chill. Like, like aside from that, like I don't know. Like you just you're worried about everything with the outcome. And same thing with being a hero. Like, I think
Yeah.
there's just so many repercussions from it. Like sometimes you just want to be like, all right, whatever. That's why they've really done it well and built it up with Kamala Khan
Mhm.
and with so many other young, especially the younger heroes. I think because the impact is so much greater, right? Where it's like they're excited, but like exactly like Tony said, they're excited, but then they're also like there's just like there's that repercussion and that fear of like
Yeah, just very aware
I really want
of
this.
yeah.
Like immediately they the rose-colored glasses are like pulled off like
Yeah.
literally 5 seconds in.
It would be difficult. I mean, it's more a test of who you are rather than what your set is. Like who you were before you even got the power is being tested. Truly, get forced life, and of course they all get that test of wait a second, powerful. Should I even be a hero, or should I just do whatever the hell I want? Um,
Yeah.
That's something some of the heroes haven't had to deal with. Doctor Strange never really had to deal with, but to that point, there's a weird thing that we kind of all missed when talking about, or some people missed, not us here on the panel, that Wanda being the villain and how that's quote bad or whatever people think. Strange is the villain in almost every universe, according to this.
Yeah.
He's a bad guy
Right.
across the board, and
Oh,
this
yeah.
is like
Yeah,
one of
everybody
a
hates
couple
him.
good ones. The 6161, the original 616, and then this 616 are the good ones.
Yeah.
So that I don't know. Hero stuff is complicated for that reason, but that's why it makes compelling stories.
Mhm.
Struggle.
We also, this is kind of random, but also very on point. What happened to Mordo?
You're
Is
talking
that
about
just,
our
He's still
Mordo,
stuck
right?
in that little pit.
he's just still out there, right? Like he wasn't killed. I just
868
He was
or ours? Which one are you meaning?
in 868, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
okay. Yeah, so 868, he's still down the pit. He can't use his magic because he's still got the inhibitor
Oh yeah,
bracelet
that's
on.
right.
Christine has to come back to get him, let him out. So that might have been one of the reasons why she didn't go with Strange to 616.
Right.
But so he's stuck there because the only way Strange got out of that pit was because he ran and jumped on Mordo's chest and pushed himself up. So I was sitting there like why did Mordo get out of there? Because he knew as much like physicality as Strange was trained in
Mhm.
Carmitage. But then I'm like, oh yeah, Strange used him as a boost.
So
But
I liked that fight between them because most times in movies where the superheroes lose their powers, it's for the whole freaking film, and I get really bored waiting for them to get it back. But this was like both of them for just a minute fighting each other without
Oh,
their
yeah.
powers, and I was like, this is a great little fist fight.
and when Mordo came out with the statement, I know why the Mordo of your universe doesn't like you. I'm like, that's not why he didn't like him.
Yeah.
Like, go with it, buddy.
We're gonna
Mhm.
let it happen. I do
That's
want
a
to speak to
huge-
something JJ just said, and this is about Eternals. And since we're kind of covering the phase 4, I thought it was very interesting on the word of Galactus that we actually already had his story with the Eternals. They did his story already, so that's what Arishem came along and said, "I'll leave this planet alone as long as you show me they're worthy," which is literally what Galactus is, Silver Surfer. And I think that's a really odd approach, which means we're not going to get the Galactus and Silver Surfer we expected. But at this point, I shouldn't expect anything.
Oh, no.
Everything's
I
up for
really,
grabs.
I really personally think if we get Galactus in the MCU, and I know we're going to lean toward that way, I believe that Galactus is the judgment of Aresha, and
Mm.
and the Herald will come to give the tidings of what the Celestials' judgment is on Earth based off of Cersei and everything else, and then it will be prepare for the coming of Galactus. And I can see Galactus being that harbinger because it's going to be kind of weird because we've already seen so much of the universe, and bringing Galactus in is going to require something a little bit different. We've had points to Celestials, we've had Ego, we've had Nowhere. We've seen Celestials in Guardians of the Galaxy, and so at this point, it's the question of, where does Galactus fit in this large universe? But then at the same time, you've got the Living Tribunal and everything else that's being referenced.
Don't forget the Fantastic Four haven't shown up. And when did he show up for the first time? When they showed up for the first time, within just a few issues. So I think that it'd be a perfect opportunity for them to all have been away or something and bring all of them back through a portal or something. I don't know. Anything's
Well, they
open.
can't do. Well, think about this also. Like they cannot do much like when Tom Holland took over the mantle of Spider-Man. They could not do his backstory again, right? Like there was like they made jokes about it or whatever.
Mhm.
I think the same thing goes for you're not going to see Doom again in a Fantastic Four movie as the main villain in the first one because they've done it twice already. And
Yeah.
I just think that is just so derivative. Like they can't do that. So maybe Galactus is the one that we're going to see instead in some kind of capacity. And Doom we're going to get Doom, of course, a really good Doom, hopefully, in a different way, shape, form, something that we won't expect. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. People way smarter than me will figure out a way to introduce him in a better way maybe into a Secret Wars or whatever, as King Doom or whatever. They'll do something different, but I just don't think you can just go with the same exact thing again for the third time and be like, oh wait, this guy Victor's with us, and we're gonna he's gonna be the
Yeah.
villain at the end. Like just can't do it again.
Well, they've got to make Doom a sorcerer. That's the thing. They've got to give him like the super intelligence, but he also has to deal in like black magic. Because I think what we've done is we've had this Doom that was imbued with the same abilities as the Fantastic Four in the first, the two movies, and it was really ridiculous. And then you get this one that's interdimensionally, been absorbing this power from this other, dimension, and so he looks like a plastic bag melted on his face, and he's
Wow.
basically the spoiled brat of
Accurate.
royalty from Latveria. Than he is actually the king of the country. And even the first one, he was corporate. He was
Yeah.
royalty, but he was a businessman first.
Yeah.
We need a Doom that is a monarch. He is into magic, and he is almost smarter than Reed Richards.
Tony, will we get? And this is my one question, then I'll shut up and let other people talk. Will we get the Doom finger gun from the original run of Doctor Doom? Because that's something I want to see.
If we don't get that and Doombots, I'm not.
Now, remember, there's a chance we might get weird amalgamations where all of a sudden it's Galactus with a little Doom inside of him. Where they could get weird with us, we don't know, because it's all on the table after this film, all of it. There's no rules on what they can do, and that's kind of the purpose of this.
Wasn't there talk about Doom being hinted at in the next Black Panther? I thought I had read that
I thought
somewhere.
Namor was where they were leading.
I thought it was Namor too.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard Namor. Yeah, but I also thought that they were.
Well, there was a time where people were thinking that Moon Knight was referencing Latveria and what looked like Von Doom on the boxes of that box art. But when you watch the episode, the words were completely different.
Yeah.
I feel like we're when we get it, we're gonna get it appropriately. I think whatever happens, and I think one of the greatest parts about Phase 4 is we are seeing the Marvel Studios leaning heavily into the comic book look. I mean, these are as comic booky as you can get when it comes to their costumes. And I mean, let's face it, Scarlet Witch was a fantastic costume, and to depict her as corrupted with the costume being like shattered from the heart with these scratches that are like it was a perfect illustration of it. And if we ever get Charles Xavier in the MCU, if that chair does not come with him, I will burn my hat. I'm just
Not that hat, the other hat,
or the other hat, just the other.
I liked her fingertips being black almost up to the middle, because it showed how long she'd be touching the book and going through the book, and it was literally corrupting her physically. It was
and you
another
saw him
one
on
of those little hints.
E3H Strange too. When they showed him being taken up by Black Bolt as he was kneeling down to basically get pummeled. His for black too.
I liked that we got to see that. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
What did you guys think about I thought it was fantastic, but the fight between the two Stranges with like just the ridiculous musical notes and everything. Oh my god, that was so fun.
So this was something that my brother-in-law even noticed, and my wife was really excited about this too. When we had the first Doctor Strange, it was pretty much whips and like magic swords.
Right.
And in this one, you could see that Strange has really developed in his magic ability. From the little demon dog thing that came and ate the car, that saved the mother.
So the Hydra that he pulled out, the Hydra snake
and
thing.
You saw him getting fangs as he was
hissing.
And I mean, and you see like him with the hands like using the javelin of the lamppost and to those music notes, like he's learning to use everything in like he's using his environment as inspiration to create more magic. And that is something extremely Doctor Strange. And not only that, but the fact that we are seeing a physical toll on Strange is one of the most important things that I was afraid they weren't going to do in the comics or in the movies that they did in the comics. Doctor Strange in the comics can't eat real food. His body is like he doesn't get a good night's rest. Like this man is miserable. And the only way they could make him more Doctor Strange from the comic books is like if there's like this magic demon in the basement of the Sanctum Sanctorum that is growing every time he does something extremely questionable with
We don't
magic,
know, and I have a feeling that
or
in Doctor Strange
you know,
3 we might get something like.
or his phantom pet dog that talks to him. Like, yeah,
Oh wow.
like come on, let's go for it.
Well,
We're
we
all
to your point, you might get that because we still do have another. I mean, there's two Mordos that are kind of outlying. There's the one from this 616 or 199, whatever you want to call it, or the same, which we really didn't see or hear from her. And he was he was the post credit scene, the cliffhanger from the first Doctor Strange. So
Mhm.
I feel like he's gonna be the guy who tries to hold him accountable for everything. If there's a Doctor Strange 3 or if there's some other, we see him again somehow coming back.
Now they were not going to give him a further storyline past this movie, but they changed the opening. They opted to have Wanda being the villain as a surprise, because the original opening for this movie was supposed to be Mordo coming to Wanda's house to hunt her down,
Mm.
and she literally just destroys him. Because if you see when she drops the illusion when she's talking to Strange,
Yeah.
the house is broken,
Mhm.
and that was going to be because of the battle between her and Mordo.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, nice.
That would have been, I mean, yeah, that would have been a really good way if they wanted to. And I love Chiwetel Ejiofor. I think he's just like,
Yeah.
He's brilliant.
he's really diverse and
He's
a
got
great
range. Yeah.
but that would have been a really good way to end his story if they wanted to. Like to your point, like that would have been I actually would have liked. I mean, I want to see that character progress, but that would have been a really surprising, but also in a good way, where you're like, oh, this is where it starts, is the villain, and then all of a sudden he's just like dead.
Tying up loose ends. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I also think it was too on the nose to what we had with Captain America and the Winter Soldier, when you had Ludlow that was being pulled out in the stretcher at the end of Winter Soldier, and then
Taken
Civil
out,
War,
yeah, taken out in
he's
Civil
taken out
War.
in the first opening. So I think I think Marvel has realized they don't need to kill all of their villains.
Yeah, no, you
Yeah.
can just let them disappear and never see them again and have this credit thing. We need to move into rating this film as well as a pre-review. We have a short segment where we get a review of what's coming into theaters this week that we'll cut away for just a minute. That said, Michael already gave his rating in the intro, but that's okay.
Mhm.
We can go back to you. So you did say a 7. You still feel firmly about a 7?
I'm gonna go a 7.199999.
I will take credit for that.
Yeah.
wavering.
I was just gonna give you credit too. But like Tony gave it a little boost, a little 0.19999.
Now, what about 12-year-old you? If 12-year-old you got to see this movie, what would he?
See, I was so excited to hear you explain at the beginning, because 12-year-old me would give it a 10.5 because it would have been like, this is the coolest thing ever. And
Yeah.
like now somewhat fake mature me, which is a lie. We all know it's a lie, is like, oh, I just want to learn this and that. And I wanted to, whatever and yada, yada, yada. So I 12-year-old me would have been his favorite movie.
Fair. That's fair. Mr. Marvelite.
I think I feel like we are so spoiled when it comes to these movies. We're talking about, like 12-year-old me. Yes, this would have had like this would have been like a 30 out of 10,
Mhm.
just for the fact of the visuals, the idea that just to have superheroes in one universe, let alone going across multiple universes,
Right.
like the Paint universe, the cartoon universe, the Stark Industries universe. If you didn't see it, where there was like all the drones flying by, like you have all of these different things and pointing. Like you were just hoping to have a good movie, let alone Easter eggs to something bigger. And like, will we see that? Will we not see that? So obviously, like as a 12-year-old, like it's astronomical to try to rate this thing, because it's beyond anything that we could have hoped to imagine. I mean, Brian and Snippets, you both love Superman, and Superman was groundbreaking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But imagine, it doesn't hold a candle to the visuals. It's still a great story, but could you imagine if they would have had the story of Superman with Christopher Reeve, and then had the budget and the development to be able to do
The
more with
technology,
the character.
yeah.
That movie would have been it would have been better than any
They would have stopped making movies after that. They're like, we peaked, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, DC kind of did then. But you have like all
Oh,
of these so we're definitely spoiled. So and again, I love this film, and there's so much to glean. And again, like I always say, like when people ask me what are my favorite movies, it depends on the day of the week because
Oh,
it could
yeah.
be how I'm feeling, what I'm into. But I would say this movie is a solid 8. It's not perfect. And that number can change over time. It could go less, it could go more, but it's always going to be rewatchable. It's always going to be entertaining. It's always going to have something that's going to move the story forward. Because again, this is not just a movie. This is an installment, and
Right.
it's just like there might not be your favorite issue of Avengers that you read, but it was important to get through that issue to get to the next one because that next one's going to be a big deal. So yeah, that's my review.
All right, all the movie things.
I'm gonna do a 7.5. Me, I like I said, like I really did enjoy it. When I think about it in the lexicon of the rest of the MCU films, it's definitely not. I still hold like Winter Soldier up there pretty high, but it is an important film. It is very, very important, and it was great to see this thing finally come to fruition and see the Sam Raimi-ness of it all, and just see Wanda just like, I mean, I would just watch a movie. I mean, basically, it was a movie, just hers, you know, laying scorched earth to everything. But I just watched her just do that for 2 hours. But I do wish we would have got a little more of America Chavez. Like, I wanted to see more. Like, I was really wanting her to get like, just like, you know, just let go and I realize that she's kind of like learning, trying to like build up that power set. But yeah, I kind of wish I would have got it a little sooner and let her kind of have her moment, But
Would you like
7.5.
would you say the movie, if you were 12-year-old you, would it have left you speechless like Black Bolt? Or were you kind of split like
Yeah.
Gavin Carter?
Right. I definitely couldn't watch it all day though either. So yeah, 12-year-old me probably would have gave this, a 9.5, something like that.
On that note, I rate this movie a 9. I'm not sure if that says I'm 12-year-old Brian or not, but I'm kidding, of course. I do think it's a 9. I think that because of what it is, it's rated high for me because I enjoy that it's sitting as Marvel had said, an installment in the MCU. It's a really good chapter leading to another chapter that's probably going to be even better. So I like that he said that. I agree with that. But there is the aspect that if you were to just sit down and watch this movie, you might have more questions than answers at the end of the film. Like, who was that? And what if you'd never seen the 90s X-Men cartoon and you heard
Right.
you're like, what was that
Right.
music? Like, as much as that's sad to us, the regular movie goer, Marvel's getting less and less, their ability to broadcast to all people is getting harder because there's a niche now and you have 10-15 years worth of content to catch up on. And I guess maybe not. You could just watch Phase 4 stuff and this would all make some sense, but be like, who's the bald guy in the yellow chair? Like,
we're definitely gonna get a joke when we get the Fantastic Four movie. At some point when we do get it, if and when we get it, that they're gonna at some point ask a question to Reed.
Yeah.
Say, I'm not telling you.
Yeah.
well, and that Reed better already know that this Reed died. Like that. What we know about
Or
Reed
like,
Richards is,
he has an aversion to spaghetti.
Right. That would be
he doesn't like-
fantastic. That would be perfect. I like that.
Oh man, my rubber band ball just fell apart.
Right. All of that was good.
But it's like did you guys, like with Patrick Stewart, did you guys get the reference to Star Trek with Charles Xavier? Like it was not a coincidence that when they're talking about the Book of Ashanti, it was set at a waypoint.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I do love that Xavier. This is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to have to move on because we have a whole other movie to talk about, and not a simple movie to talk about. The fact that Xavier trusted Strange because he could see into his mind, I loved that. That's Xavier, like that was him.
Yeah.
They embodied that character. I was like, okay, he knows he's not evil because he
If
can
you
see
should
it.
escape.
Yeah,
I
and I
love
love that
that.
Mordo's like, what are
If
you
you should-
doing, dude? What are you? I love that scene. Anyway, that
I
said,
believe we can trust him.
right? Kid me 10 out of 10, a million out of a million, whatever. You know, we all kind of know that's already the way. That said, we're gonna move into the pre-review with Super Makami Guru, and he's got some movies for us this week. Enjoy.
How's it going, Real Study viewers? I'm Sean, and I'm back with this week's pre-review. This week, we'll start off in the theaters with Minions: The Rise of Gru. I'm a sucker for all the Minions movies. I think Despicable Me's all really great, and this movie is going to tackle a very young Gru, just joining the villain world and with the desire to be a supervillain, but you know, you got to take on the other villains before you can be the top dog. Like I said, this is going to be so much fun, and I can't wait to watch it. Next, we'll jump into Netflix with Stranger Things Season 4 Part 2. Let me tell you, I think Season 4 is shaping up to be my favorite season so far. I'm really excited for Part 2. You know, the Part 1 had us following all those storylines to just the right point. And Part 2 is only going to be 2 episodes, with Part 1 being around an hour and a half long, and I think Part 2 is 2.5 hours long, which I have no problem with at all. Zero. I like this type of method going right here. So, you know, if you got a story to tell and you've got a limited amount of time, hey, let's just make it 2 episodes and we'll crunch it all down. I love this. I cannot wait for season 4 part 2. I just have my people that cannot get hurt. Please don't let anything happen to Steve. And finally, Hulu brings us The Princess. Let me tell you, you watch the first 30 seconds of this trailer, you're going to think, oh, here's a princess trapped in a castle and, you know, somebody's got to come rescue her. Nobody needs to save this princess. She can handle herself 100%. This looks incredible. I don't know if this princess is an assassin or has been just trained with warriors her entire time growing up, but somebody thinks they can kidnap her and then take over her father's throne, and I guarantee you that is not gonna happen. This looks like a thrill ride, fun start to finish, and I will definitely be glad I have a Hulu subscription to check this one out. Alright, that's all I got this week. Y'all have a great one, and I'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for taking a look at the pre-review with Super Kami Guru. He does that every week for us with whatever's coming out, and I think the princess looks pretty funny. Looks pretty outrageous. I don't know if you guys have seen that preview yet, but yeah. But we're back. We're back, and we are moving on. We are going to move on to Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, which is one of the newer A24 films. And this is another multiverse film. We kind of have a theme going on this evening, if you guys haven't figured that out. This film is it's directed by the Daniels. If you have not heard of them, you should go check out Swiss Army Man, and then you'll know more about why this movie works with their weird approach to filmmaking. Also, still stars Michelle Yeoh, even Stephanie. I cannot pronounce these names. I'm going to butcher these names. This is why I give it up to Cell Phone Wallet Keys, because he does the promos way better with the names. But then we have Ki Hugh Kwan, James Hong, and then Jamie Lee Curtis. Those are the main characters. And yeah, so let's go to all the movie things. What was your first impression of Everything, Everywhere, All at Once?
Man, I still can't stop thinking about this movie, and I saw it like this with the theater here in Portland. That one of the bigger IMAX ones had a special IMAX screening for it, and yeah, for 3 days straight is all I could think about, and I still like think about it now and again, and I can't say enough about this movie. It's like I loved the hell out of Top Gun Maverick, but this everything, everywhere, all at once is still like my favorite movie so far this year. It's just uh super blown away. I mean, I don't know if I've felt every single emotion in a movie before, but I sure as hell did in this one. Cried multiple times in this film. Um, just an incredible film, up and down, left, just every which way. I can't really. It's I don't like to say a perfect film, but it's a damn near perfect movie for me. So yeah, loved it, loved it.
All right, all right. Mr. Marmalade, I know we're gonna, get to stuff you haven't seen yet, so I do want your initial impression, just kind of what you've thought so far, what your anticipation is for the film, if you.
Well, coming out of this, like I'll be honest with you, I haven't gotten very far in the film, and it's it's um it's interesting. Like Michelle Yeoh, by the way, is just amazing. And so if it were just her and you have her and multiverse, it's enough for me. But then just kind of even seeing on TikTok some of the little like snippets about like Jamie Lee Curtis and what they did
Mhm.
for like the different roles.
Mhm.
It's There is no reason why I'm not going to love this film. But again, I'm kind of curious. So like as you all are talking about this, like I'm not afraid of spoilers, so don't worry about that with me.
Okay.
But I mean, there's a lot of things going for this film just from a perception. I've heard nonstop rave reviews about it. This is an A24 film, which I feel like A24 is like the new like Universal, where Universal used to like bang out some really quality stuff, or like
Mhm.
MGM, or like TriStar before it was Sony. You had this idea that these studios wanted to make something good and make something quality, and A24 definitely has that feel. And so that's just my initial take from it. It's as generic and as wonky as it possibly can be without watching the film. So
Pretty good.
You did good. You did good. Michael, what was your initial impression of Everything Everywhere All at Once?
So yeah, I loved it. Again, it's a more of a cerebral film for me, where again, and I can't believe I'm making this comparison, but I am. Again, for me, like the Spider-Man No Way Home comparisons there. I know a lot of people say the nostalgia there. For me, it's the things that you realize on second and third and fourth watch. Again, like I brought this up a million times. I say the same stories over and over again, but like the fight at the end on Captain America's shield and what that represents, and just things like that.
Mhm.
I doing research and looking and after having watched this movie, and the donut at the end, and the lines that become more impactful when you hear them a second time, were like, maybe it all is worthless, but I'll always want to be here with you, and things
Yeah,
like that, like
yeah.
that hit you. I'm
Mhm.
sure Brian was crying during that line.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
That was yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that gets me, and maybe that is old
Mhm.
man Rothman or whatever. But I thought it was great. The funny thing is, something that Brian said, I'm the only person in America, I think, that thought Top Gun Maverick was a little overrated. So
Oh.
I easily put this above that. I saw it. It just,
Funny.
I would say it was a great movie. I'd give it an 8, but this is not about that. So
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I just thought it was brilliant on so many different levels, and the way the balancing of all the different themes and all the different characters, and I just thought it was really, really well done, and just fantastic movie.
Yeah.
I really can't say more than almost everybody has said on this panel. I knew I was gonna like it. It's an A24 film. I already watched Swiss Army Man, which is quickly climbed to one of my favorite movies just because of how odd and uh, different and cerebral, as Michael said, because they think outside of the box. They film outside the box, and yet they're able to do it with such simple locales. I mean, took a simple IRS tax office and made it this
Right.
multi-universal place where it
Mhm.
always felt a little different no matter where you were, and I could always tell which Evelyn we were with the whole time. You could always kind of
Yeah.
get the idea. And then of course Jamie Lee's character, Deirdre, you could always tell which one she's fighting because of the circle
Yeah.
thing on her head. And Jamie Lee uh, gets a lot of credit for this film as well. She did such a good job of playing the multi varied characters, just like Michelle did. And I think she did a good job of playing the villain, which we don't ever really do on that level. She's the
Mhm.
final girl or the housewife or something to that effect. So it was nice to see her aggressive and some physicality. And
Mhm.
The one thing I heard about her specifically was that there's the scene where she's letting her gut hang out, and everybody's like, "Oh,
Mhm.
they put a suit on her," and no,
Oh,
no, they didn't.
uh-huh.
She actually
That's
asked, "Can I
her.
just be me?" And they were like,
Mhm.
"Please do," and it adds this like authenticity to the character where she just
Yeah.
acts lady behind the
Just
counter,
let herself go.
right? So
Yeah.
that's something about the Daniels that I think really brings an element to all of their films, that they want that rawness, even if they're dealing with existential and outside us.
Mhm.
I absolutely love this film. Um, everybody told me what it was going to be like. Everybody told me it was great, and it didn't matter. It still was all those things, and I still cried,
Mhm.
even though everybody said it would make you cry. So even with Mr. Marvelite, I think you're going to have these reactions because the movie's message is too powerful.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I've cried at movies that you said you've cried at too. So
mhm,
I feel like that's like such a like I don't know the specifics, but I think as a dad, I just cry more to films than I ever did
I agree with that.
before.
I can agree
Yeah.
with that. And I think being a parent, this film has an impact on you because it's about being a parent to some degree. Um, but yeah, so yeah, my initial impression was spot on. This is amazing. I'm gonna watch this again. Can't wait to have my wife watch it. And I really more than anything, I can't wait to see what else the Daniels have to offer us, because
Yeah.
if this is their sophomore, I mean, I think they have other films in this, but this is their big,
Right.
their next big hurrah. They're give them some money, let them go make stories, because
And I don't think it's a coincidence that, and this is again, we talk about behind the scenes stuff, that the Russos
Mhm.
are part of the producing team here, and a very similar path,
Yeah.
right? Like I think of
Yeah.
John. I mean, again, when I go to Marvel, right? I think of John Watts. I think of the Russos. These directing talents that kind of come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're like incredible 2, 3, 4 movies in. So
Mhm.
that tie doesn't seem like coincidental to me.
well, the Russos have been involved in so many wonderful Community, Rick and Morty. They're actually they're the multi-universal people almost. It's they
Right.
attach themselves to writers that like to deal in that, and I think that's pretty. Um, this movie unpacks a lot of very difficult topics as well, because it does deal in things like divorce. It does dealing in your own stuff, your own shit, so much that about your children and your loved ones, uh, but also in possibility. I think that,
Mm.
or even fate. I mean, there's so many things. There's so many levels, because when you think about Evelyn and Waylon in the universe where they never had a daughter, and they still find their way back to each, still find that love, that
Mhm.
connection. So it's almost like you make your own fate, but fate guides you. I think it really goes to that level, at least for me. What do you guys?
If we're comparing, so as you were talking, I was thinking about a comparison to Doctor Strange, right? So if we're comparing it,
Mm.
obviously that's the two movies we're talking about, right? This might be a stretch, but I think of the character of Joy. I loved one. Stephanie Sue played her
Mhm.
fantastic. I loved the wait. What? All right. So what is she called in the movie again? I don't want to get this wrong because I love that name. Is it the what
I'm
she
trying.
becomes?
I'm trying to
What is
get to
it
it
again?
quickly here.
It's a great name too. I'm trying to look it up. God, but the fluctuation back from Jobu Tupaki. It-
Right.
um, the fluctuation between Jobu and Joy, I thought was really great. Where like just unaware of it, and again, I've said this before too. Like, and I think Marvelite said this too. Like with knowing the backstory, which makes it how long that Wanda had the dark hold and how corrupted she had
Mhm.
become. I would have loved to have seen a little bit of that conflict in the middle where we saw it at the end with Wanda. I would have loved to see the progression, and I think I'm pretty sure it was Marvelite that said this too. It would have been amazing to see the villain that personifies the Darkhold, and Marvelite's going to step in here in a second and answer it. So I don't have to even look it up. But him kind of doing the Wanda, like whispering in her ear, right, corrupting her.
Mm.
Catan.
Yeah.
I thought Joy did that so well, where a character you kind of see them. I don't know if it's a conflict, but she just doesn't know what's going on when she goes back to Joy. She's like, what's going on, Mom? What's the deal?" Like, and they're like, kind of, you can just see like the disconnect there.
Mhm.
And the nerd name you were looking for was Cathan, like
Yes.
Cathan. Yeah.
I thought that, like, I think you've said this before, so I'm never gonna
Yeah.
steal someone's idea. That would have been a 2-second add-in that would have given it an extra point in the movie for me, where like Thon's in her ear doing the little like thing, and he's like, "Go
Mhm.
kill them," and she's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna die," you know. Or before she says to Reed Richards, because that's the one that like sticks out to me. That's such a weird thing where she's like, "Well, I'm gonna murder." I'm gonna murder you, and your kids are gonna have one parent left. I would have liked to have seen like
She
maybe
wasn't reasonable anymore.
yeah, Chthon in her ear or something, trolling her. And like then she's like just completely ruthless. I think that would have made it a little bit better, that character a little better for me.
Fair,
Yeah.
fair. What do you guys think of Raccoony?
I love that. I mean, I love just every ridiculous thing that they were not afraid to go to. I mean, the Rock universe
Okay, that
was
scene.
just so like, I mean, how that's just like well, storytelling and filmmaking right there. In my opinion, like you're gonna tell this really great, touching moment in the most ridiculous scenario possible, and you're not gonna have and
and,
it's two rocks with a googly.
and I still
He's
cried during the
and
rock
it's so
scene.
amazing. It's so good. I mean, and the thing is too, like, what's so great, like as far as like a theater experience, this is like this blew me away. So it's dead silent in the theater too. And everyone like what a like connection moment for everyone. Like we're reading it all at the same time. Everyone laughs at the same moments. Like it's exact that's it was just one of those theater moments that I will always remember where it's just like everyone's so locked into this movie and we're reading their dialogue and like feeling all these moments at the exact same time, at the exact moments that the filmmakers intended for us to do it. Like just incredible. I love it.
But how do you get to putting two rocks on screen and invoking such a not? It's not even wickedly far into the film. It's
Yeah,
maybe at the halfway point. So we've already established these characters so well by the
yeah.
time we get to the
That's the
rocks
thing.
that
Hmm.
that we're like, oh,
I've already
you know,
and we've already established how ridiculous things can get. That we're like, we're not done yet.
the
Here
hot
you
dog
go.
Mind
fingers.
you,
Here's the hot dog
I haven't
fingers.
even
Like,
heard this. I haven't even watched this movie completely yet. But
yeah,
to like, let's face it, we were invested in Rubber, um, the
Rubber.
sentient murderous tire that went around this
right.
hotel.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so I mean, it's not a
exactly.
far stretch that we would accept rocks. And
Well, and they have
again, I'm
eyes. They do have
no
eyes.
experience.
Yeah,
Oh well,
yeah.
that's
They have googly eyes.
They're googly eyes, but they have no expression. But
Yeah.
Oh,
Michael,
we haven't even talked about James Hong and his
Mhm.
performance here. Obviously, like talk about, I mean, an
I mean,
iconic actor, but
icon. No,
like,
totally. Finally getting his Walk of Fame star. Like, jeez,
but
so good.
his relationship with Michelle Yeoh's character, obviously that again, it's just the things that are relatable where they
Mhm.
get they get you whether you've had that experience or not. You just kind of have that. It just brings out the heartstrings, that kind of a thing. Like the moments, like again, and I don't have a sibling like this, but for some reason, what always gets me when there's kind of like and this has nothing to do with this movie, but like a kind of a coming out story in any kind of show or movies. And there's one I think what was the show? Is the MMA show where one brother comes out to the other brother about being gay, and like the brother sets back to him and says, uh, "Well, obviously it doesn't mean anything to me, but I just apologize for the fact that you didn't think you could come to me earlier because he took a while to like tell him and his progression, his life, and his whatever." And that always gets me when like someone says that to them. It's like, not only am I okay with it, but it's like, oh, I'm sorry that I feel bad that you didn't feel like you could, tell me or feel comfortable. What did I, that kind of a thing.
yeah.
The ending with like with the father, where he kind of goes from one side to obviously the different, we call them variants. I don't know what we're calling them, but the variant changes at the
Yeah.
end. It just, and again, like, I don't have that kind of, but it gets you because it's so relatable, and it brings your, like, I don't know, it brings the heartstrings out where you're like, you just kind of, I don't know if you just kind of, you want to see it, you really want to see it, and like the different changings of James's character. So yeah, it hits on all cylinders with that.
I think that was very well said. Did you
Yeah.
guys know that Randy Newman was the voice of Raccoony? Sorry, I didn't random, but I was kind of thrown by that was a fact. Um, this is something that Ki Hee Kwan has not been in film per se much before this, other than what as we know, Indiana Jones as well as Goonies, but not missing a step. Like wow, I was very impressed by how much I understood and even kind of related to his character because
Oh my God,
he's so positive and just trying to have a good outlook on life, and everybody around him is so negative. And it's not that I'm that way, but just I can be I can sense that sometimes. I can try to be positive when
Mhm.
the rest of the world seems to be wanting to be negative, and so I kind of understood him uh, to that degree. I think that it was just nice to see him back and doing something where I enjoyed. Just
Mhm.
it was bittersweet that it took so long that
Yeah.
we got it.
Yeah.
And not
Mhm.
every viewer is going to get this. But what also gets me and also relatable to me, and again, I guess that's art, right? It affects
Yep.
different people differently, is the fact that we are in a different era where there's more opportunity, right? And there's more there's more stories being told. But someone like that who in the past probably has been pigeonholed because of the Goonies and because of Indiana
Oh
Jones
yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
now is
Totally.
getting this. And again, like you said, without missing a beat, it's really that hit me too. Where I know his. I mean,
Mhm.
again, younger people who, like haven't seen it that see this won't know who this
Yeah. Yeah.
is. But I think that gets me too, where it's like
Mhm.
it's not. There's not a reason why someone was pigeon. Like someone can be. There's people that are young that grow out of it that don't the talent doesn't transcend as they get older
Or they have
into
bad film after bad film, even if it's not their fault.
yeah, and so but this obviously isn't the case, and it's nice to see things open up for actors like this, and they can step out of the roles that they're known for or whatever, like someone that hasn't aged well, like, Ross from Friends. He can never get out of that
Of course,
stereotype.
you bring him up.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think that's the thing where like some people that are supposed to, not supposed to, but they don't, mature into these roles as they get older. And there's ones that really do. I mean, look, Ryan Reynolds, like, I
Mhm.
mean, he was a child star. There's people that do really well as they get older and they change their style and their whatever. And I think the same thing here. And I think he was 100% probably pigeonholed because of stereotypes, but also because of being a child star and like so many other things. It is
Mhm.
just that really hit me seeing him, and it
Yeah.
took me a minute to realize, and then I looked up, I was like, oh my god, and I was like just so
Yeah.
happy to see that on screen and him be just like stand out.
Yeah. No, totally. And like such an important role. Like for me anyway, like I felt like he is kind of like he's kind of the thread or like like a big heart of the film. Like his each version of him, even his like alpha version, still maintained like this like heart throughout. Like every version still had like this really, he just like had this positive outlook and oh man, that scene like so gets me. What's like I can't remember what it's where they're in the alleyway in the street and then they're both dressed up. He's like in a tux and she's it's like some premiere of hers and yeah, like that line. I can't remember the line now, but like that he just delivers this very. I think you mentioned it, Michael, already. Like that, it was um, just this incredible line that kind of like encompasses everything that character is feeling in all the universes in a way, And so like he's yeah, to see him, also to see him kick ass too was was fun. And just have a blast with that role. I loved watching. Yeah, and I think
And with a fanny pack.
yeah, using a deadly fanny pack. Yeah, yeah, and to your point too, it really was like this added thing, this added layer of emotion to see him back, you know, doing something incredible, and hopefully, the hope is like I've seen a lot of interviews with him too, and just how emotional, how important this film was for him or is for him, and hopefully we're going to see more from him because of this. So
I hope so. I really do hope
yeah,
so. I would like to see, and what's nice about A24 is that you will see a lot of people kind of between these films because they like people, much like most
Yeah.
studios do. And Jenny Slate is, of course, in this film, and she's got her film
Yeah.
dropping this weekend. Everything, or not everything, everywhere. I'm sorry, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On will be dropping. And so, of course, she was already working on
Yeah.
that and probably would say, like, hey, you want to come over, you know, as the white chick with the dog in this movie? And she's like, hell yeah, I'll do that.
Mhm.
And she's only in it a little, but she brings an element that I think is
Yeah,
fun
that
and
was
ridiculous.
so funny.
And she is
Mhm.
hilarious and more talented than I think she's been given credit for. I think everybody involved in this film across the board is exceptionally talented. That's why it works. Good story, well written, well directed, good cinematography, just fun. Like you said, all the movie things: fun, funny, sad,
Just
pressing,
everything.
everything.
Yeah.
It's the title.
Touching.
The title
Yeah. No.
encompasses it. You know,
Right.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
really does.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
and you know what? There's a unique structure to the three acts in the film because everything, then everywhere, and then all at once. But all at once is the
Mhm.
little kind of like cap on the end, which is odd because that's not a typical three act structure. And I liked the way they broke it down. We got to just see her world and then how it breaks and the multiverse travel, and then we get the fun and ending.
Mhm.
That's just me.
It feels like it fits though, as you only I only realized this as you were saying it too, where again it's such a silly, quirky. It's emotional, but it's also got the silly, quirky, like try anything,
Yeah.
whatever. So almost like I can almost see like the feeling they were going for was a very long first act, very long second act, and but everything is almost encompassed in it, right? And then
Mhm.
you got the audience and they're like my reaction when I saw third act was like, wait, how much longer is this movie? Like, is it another hour? And I guarantee you, like, or not guarantee you, but take that back. Um, my thought is that they were probably going for a little like quirky kind of thing where people were like, wait, is there another hour of this movie? And then something was like 10 minutes later and
But
it's
they
over.
did
Like
that to you before. So there's a spot in the movie where all of a sudden you're like, is the movie over? And it's not, but they do a really
Yeah.
good job of making you think it is for just a moment. And so then the end kind of they subverted that expectation and flipped it. And again, that's hella good storytelling. Take your own rules and twist them. Clever to do, especially in technically a fairly not 2 hour film, not that short. They didn't have 3 hours to get this all in, but no, that's just. You guys have a favorite universe?
dog fingers.
Hot dog fingers is such
I
a
mean, it was pretty
disturbing.
sweet, like because of their relationship, though. You know, like that. There were still some really sweet moments when,
Yeah.
and even like the ridiculous hot dog finger universe. I mean,
Well, you
they're
could,
having to do everything with their feet.
and
You
they
know,
got really good at it, and they looked at that as a
yeah,
positive.
yeah, it's
No,
so
I love
funny.
that Deirdre and Evelyn were
Yeah,
lovers in
yeah,
this
yeah,
alternate
Mhm.
hot dog universe. But why did everyone want to eat each other's fingers? What was that?
So gross.
yeah.
What
And
was
then when
that?
they bit down, did something come out of it, or is that just me
I
with like
swore it
seeing?
was like jelly
Oh, it
or
was so
like,
gross.
is that their blood or only the fingers do that? Like I had
Yeah,
so many more questions and that I'll
uh-huh.
never get answers to.
Like cheddar filled.
But Brian's right. It was one of the.
I just saw Marley's comment in the chat.
It was also one of the sweetest. It really was because it fits that like that climax where she just um decides to, no matter what her thought is or her mindset is, she wants to give everyone that bit of, not a pun intended, like joy, but like, and again, she
Yeah.
just like succumbs to being like, yeah, we are in love, her and Deidre, and like, and so it really
Mhm.
was one of the sweeter storylines, but it's
Yeah,
also
like
so gross.
yeah, I know, like, but that's such a great thing that they do. Like they put this like, let's juxtapose these two, like this most wackiest thing we can, but then also like let's give it as much heart as possible.
Right.
And it's just like, and they did it multiple times in this. I mean, uh, God, it's like, I mean, her
Real hard.
award. I mean, do we need to talk about her award? What's her Deidre's award that she that it's also a candle that you can purchase on A24's website now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
again.
You're talking about the plug, the plug of Rear
award,
Natures.
yes,
Yes.
the the phallic shaped.
So Marvelite, you didn't get to this point, but in order to jump from universe to universe, you have to do something exceptionally improbable or unlikely,
just random,
really random. More random, the better, and then you'll have a better connection to the next universe or your other self. And so there's a moment where there's a toy of sorts for people who like backdoor work, and
But it's actually an award that Deidre
Right,
gets.
but she's
backdoor work.
Like a garden hose?
Carpenter over here. Like,
so
yeah,
it's but it's an award the tax people get for screwing people enough, But anyway, so some of the guys, in order to switch universes,
has
keep
multiple
trying
levels,
to impale themselves on this thing, and
so they can get more
so
power.
they can get more power
from
to
the
fight better.
multiverse,
And once it's
versions.
lodged in there, they're able to fight better until it's
insane.
dislodged.
Like, it's so funny.
But
It's
in the
beyond
scene,
ridiculous.
like the one guy's got his shirt on, but his pants are off, and it's still lodged. And he's still fighting and still doing stuff. So and they haven't blurred out, but it's still there. And I actually think I blacked it out until you guys started talking about the scene.
That's the color of it, by the way.
And I was like, wait, was that this movie? I thought it was like a movie from like a year ago. And then I was like,
Kung Pao. You would have thought it would have been in Kung
totally,
Pao or
like,
something, but no, it's in this movie.
Just insanity.
Okay, so don't watch this with my 7-year-old. You're saying?
No, this is an
No.
adults-only film, no doubt. Okay, so what about on the flip side? Because I like the ridiculous. I loved that Wayland was so positive that he was like, "Why don't you learn to fight the way I do?" And then she fought people with a positive spin, giving them what they needed most in life. I thought that was so brilliant, and that scene was even more ridiculous than the. I want to say those words. I don't want to get this banned, but the phallic toy scene. This scene I think was even more ridiculous, but more touching. Not a pun.
Yeah.
The backdoor work.
Yep. I like to take credit for this conversation, by the way.
You get the credit. You get the credit.
Everything, everywhere, even there, all at once.
Yeah, all at once,
Exactly.
man.
Even there, all
everywhere.
at once.
They don't mess around. It's everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, doesn't she spit in somebody's? No, not spit. Even on somebody's face hard. It wasn't good. And I don't know. Like they try to get weird, but it's not good weird enough.
Yeah, there was a moment where she was trying all these different things and she couldn't get there because it wasn't enough, for it to like lock. And like
I'm breathing in his face. Like it.
Yeah, but that's the funny thing too, is like they're trying to do all these like wacky things to connect, and which is such a crazy concept. It's like you have to like, in order to like break that your plane of existence to connect, you have to do something that you would never do, which I just love that whole idea of like.
I'm just
like,
thinking for me, that would be like making DC content.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you'd be transferred.
But in a way, it's almost like it made me think of the MCU's way of like how the multiverse gets connected, with like Nexus events or whatnot, or like different, like with like Loki had to do something, that would break the timeline or whatnot. And in a way, that's kind of what they're doing with this. Is like they had to do something totally off the wall to like connect to their multiverse.
The backdoor work to make their own branch in the timeline.
Exactly.
I also think
for those guys.
Overall, I think the fact that it's so different, and like from different scenes to like the different how unique and whatever. I think we never really. I think it's starting to open up more with like streaming platforms and more opportunity to do more things. But like, it's we realize how often we don't see movies that are outside the box when trying things. I mean, there is, but like when we were talking, I was thinking about like I was watching a movie the other day that had it was one of very few, the unreliable narrator, where like, and it was a bad movie too, but I would love to see a good movie like that where you kind of trust the person who's narrating the whole movie, and at the end you realize he's the villain. Like it was like completely 180 where the entire time you think he's the good guy, and then that last 20 minutes you find out like, no, he's been lying the entire time.
Oh, wow.
And the whole movie's a lie. And I was like, wow, what a good concept. I can't believe I haven't seen like 10 copies of this, or like Mulholland Drive back in the day, which was like one of the craziest movies like I ever saw. Like, and it just goes to show like that's why these movies stick out when they're done well, because you come to the usual archetype of what they are, and then it kind of wakes you up to being like, try some different things out every now.
Yeah. Well, that just goes to like the old adage of like, know all the rules before you break them, so you can break them well, and you get something like this.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Um, I think they restocked all these things at A24 just in case you're a fan and you want eyes or hot dog fingers or
Oh yeah,
other
they
devices.
did do it. They did sell out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't normally do this, but they actually did a reissuing because they were
Yeah.
so popular. And that's
Mhm.
actually something they totally tend to avoid. I'm
I
trying
got
to think.
the tax form book
Yes.
from from the all access.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And it's actually weirdly accurate to taxes. It's actually
Yeah,
a history of
it
taxes.
really goes into taxes
Yeah,
more than I thought it was going to.
like the who's who of tax evaders, like in real people. Like really blew my mind what was in this
They have
book.
a multiverse book too
Yeah,
that you can get. That's all about the Daniels. I think wrote it,
they did.
or like, and it's just like they go off on like different, like the actual like concepts of the multiverse from a scientific perspective, not just their film. But yeah, that's
Just
pretty great.
weird stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Also,
it
what
was
makes A24 cool.
the concept was in the 60s, right? It was where like its first.
I think it was something like that. I'll have to look at the book. But
Now, what did you think of every time Evelyn needed to get a little better, she'd learn like finger foo? Was that too far? She'd, learn to kill people with her pinky. Was that too much for you?
oh, no, I thought that was great.
I thought
There
it was
is-
unique.
Yeah.
You thought it was unique?
Well, I thought the way they delivered it was good. I mean, again, it's something.
Mhm.
It's something that's one that's going to be. You got to be really good at your craft if you're going to be different and unique. Like that could have gone completely wrong. I think that the whole like the muscle on the pinky and like it was done really really
Yeah.
well. What does she do? She breaks a wall open with her pinky or whatever, or does something that it could have gone horribly wrong, but if you're confident and you know what you're doing and you're a seasoned director or at least have
Mhm.
the confidence of one, because obviously it's their sophomore effort, but I think yeah, that's the thing I could see going either way, but in this movie I think it was well done.
Yeah.
There are movies
I-
where it's like Kung Pao, where this movie took elements from Kung Pao and made them serious. Really bizarre, but they did a good job by putting enough of a serious worked.
Mhm.
I think if you had done all of the stuff with like, had they done it in a different way, it would have been a horror film because it would have been too gritty and too gross. Grossness in this was more slapstick, which kind of added to. You were going to say, Mr. Marmalade.
No, it's so funny being like an outsider in this conversation, like hearing you guys talk. Like like when you said finger foo, like my first thought went back to the backdoor work. So it's like it doesn't like it makes me more excited like as someone like to know that you guys are excited about it and that you're talking about this and that there are these little intricacies that like you want to have more. I'm looking forward to having this discussion offline with you guys once I finish watching the film.
Oh man, yeah.
But it's like it's I think that's one of the things that I feel with this film. People who did not see it or had not seen it yet, like there was not much to give away that people were doing in their reviews of it. Um,
Mhm.
they talked about how this person did this great job, this person did that great job. There are these elements that they liked, but I've not really gotten a lot of spoilers. And even sitting here talking to you guys and hearing you guys talk about it, and hopefully you're not holding back, it's still everything you're talking about still doesn't give anything away to what this film
That's the thing, yeah, because it could happen at any moment in the
like
film.
yeah, I think that was the
all
thing,
this
like,
stuff is crazy.
like when you mentioned like kung fu or like it's for me it's like Kung Fu Hustle. You had this like
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
coming
yeah.
that
Kung Fu
movie
Hustle's
came out
good.
everywhere. Like
Yeah.
it was there was you could easily go to the bathroom and come back and have no idea what you were watching
Yeah.
because there was just so many different little intricate things that even now I go back and I'm like, I missed that part. Um, so it's just nice to know that as complex as this film is, it gives it this. It's almost as if it gives it its own. What am I trying to say? Like language to it.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you guys talk about it, it gives nothing away. This conversations give nothing away, but Marley is loving it.
Marley
It's
does love
hilarious
this
'cause
film.
He's getting that
like
candle.
the connection that's made, and I'm sitting there going, I'm still trying to piece like things together. Like I'm like rocks with googly eyes, and the only thing I know of is the googly eyes on the laundry bags,
Yeah.
or the thing like
Oh,
no
yeah.
more googly eyes.
Oh,
So
man. Yeah.
so, so yeah, so that's the only connection I've made out of anything that I've watched so
Funny.
far.
It also feels like it's done purposely too. Like
Mhm.
it feels on like its intent is to. I don't. That's way above my pay grade. But like coming up with these things that you can talk about that aren't spoilers, that don't ruin it, but are also relatable. And I talked about it earlier. I'm probably gonna get attacked for it, but like one of the reasons I didn't love Top Gun Maverick was like things like I think we can say a spoiler for that. It's been out for whatever, but like the
Just
ending.
made $1 billion.
I haven't seen it.
So
So,
All right, so
I
there's
can't
an
go to the
ending.
theater.
There's an ending scene. I won't say it. There's an ending scene that if I describe it to you, one is pretty cheesy. Two also spoils the movie. If you say what's happening, fully spoils the movie. And I just when I saw it, I was like, come on, like the closing scene or whatever is just kind of like, all right, but like that again, it's another one of those things. It's a mark of like a movie that's amazing or a mark of a movie that's really good. And again, I thought Top Gun Maverick was great. I thought the action was great. I give it like an 8, but it didn't have the same emotional tie that like something like this had.
Fair.
I'm glad I didn't say what the scene was because it would have
Oh, man,
absolutely
yeah.
ruined.
That's okay. I'm big on saying what I haven't seen for people, and I usually you would have seen me throw the headset and run, so it would fine.
I mean, dude, only we could have gotten you to drive-in theater. Like that would be the best way to do
They're
this.
2 hours from here. Otherwise, you're talking about a whole day trip to see one movie. They never show more. They don't show double features at my drive-in up by where Brian's at. I think it's in where it is.
Newburgh.
Yeah, Newburgh. So that it's like right down the road for you, but it's multiple hours for me. So
Yeah.
'Cause I saw Jurassic World Dominion on a drive-in theater. It was probably one of the
Oh,
best
sweet.
experiences as a family.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So that is good news. So the world did announce, or at least our country did announce, that there will be vaccinations for kids that are my kids' age. So I will be able to be vaccinated, and of course already vaccinated. We'll be able to get back out there in the world, and I will be going to the theater again. So I will be in the know again finally. So
Yes,
that's
a
awesome,
Snidbits Sans Theater is a sad Snidbits indeed.
right?
That's a tongue twister.
It really was. So we are down to 5 minutes. I guess we technically started a couple minutes late, but we got about 5 minutes. So why don't we give our ratings for this film, and then we can wrap it up and we can rate somebody and find out who's all the movie things. What was your rating? Everything, everywhere, all at once.
I mean, damn. It's got, like I said, I don't like perfect. It's so damn perfect though. But I'll give it a 9. It's a 9.999
999.
with repeating
999. Remember, lots of backdoor work. So.
Yes. Yeah, that's what pushes it over the edge there. So
Have you guys seen those rating the rating like trend that's going on like on TikTok?
Yeah, it was a
No.
5. Now it's a 7 because of X. Or
Yeah,
it was a 10. Now it's a 7 because of X.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Cute. It's being done too much, so I'm not going to touch it. But anyway.
Harley's killing me.
So, see, he can say it in there, and it obviously let it through. So I'm going to let that through. Michael, go ahead.
you
What
know
is
that let it go.
your oh, and all the movie things? Would your kid self have watched this? And if so,
I think my 12-year-old self would have liked this. Yeah, probably wouldn't have liked it as much as adult me.
so like a
But-
9 rather than 99999.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's fair. Michael, go ahead.
I'll give it a 9.616 for adult me. I gotta give the balance. Gotta give the balance. Yeah.
Yep.
And then Kid Me would give it like a 3. He would have hated it.
Oh, buddy. Yeah.
He just would. He just wouldn't have like gotten like the sense of humor and the dry humor, and he would have
Oh.
been like he was more of a Robin Hood.
Men in
Robin Hood Men
Tights.
in Tights. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where men.
Not a Robin Hood,
gotcha.
Taron Egerton.
I do like that.
Ugh.
Or what was the one? Wasn't there one with Russell Crowe too? Or no?
Yes, but
Oh.
that's at least
Oh,
Ridley
yeah.
Scott. Bare minimum. The Taron Egerton one is we don't need to talk about it. We've already did a whole show on it. We don't
Yeah.
need it. We don't need to talk about it further.
I missed that show, but I will say
I did too.
I actually
but
like that film more than I think you guys did.
You
so.
probably wouldn't have wanted to be here because we trashed it really, really hard. Like we were not kind to that film. So that said, for myself,
Juan did that one.
right?
And was it repo level trashing? Let me just ask that.
Ooh.
No, we trashed it harder than Repo. Repo had some redeeming
Oh,
qualities.
wow.
Like the only thing
Yeah.
we said about Robin Hood that was
That was
good was
hard
it
to
had a
watch.
good production value.
Ugh.
That's all we could say. A bunch of stars and production value, but it just fell apart. You had a carriage of
seen
horses
Repo, Michael?
ram through a gate. Like I don't know. Anyway,
Michael, have you seen Repo,
Repo
No,
the
what's-
genetic opera.
the genetic opera?
No.
You're not missing anything.
Yeah, man.
Except
I
for
have seen. Obviously, I have seen.
Okay,
What's
you ever see people that have been like on LSD later on or like early on in life and they're messed up ever since. That it's like,
That's
like
the movie
Hey,
version of that.
Kind of
yeah.
like that.
I have
Yeah.
seen the original. What's the movie they made they made a satire of it with James? Not a satire, but the James Franco. What's the original movie? That's
The Room.
like the worst movie. Yes. I
Oh,
have
yeah.
seen that movie.
I
That
love
one's
The Room.
great.
It's so great. Yeah.
So we've had one other person on the show that's now seen that movie besides Brian.
God,
Man.
I mean, it's. I want to go watch it tomorrow. Where it's like, hey, Dougie, I didn't do it. I didn't hit her.
So
I didn't.
good. Yeah.
Come
And then, like,
on.
have you seen it in the theater with other
They
people?
were like, I have
Yeah.
not. I heard
Oh
it's
my
amazing.
God, and,
those
like, you-
films
you
with the- yeah.
Yeah, and you like chant every time they do the show the ridiculous, establishing shots like of like the bridge for no reason. Everyone chants in the theater, go, 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 go. It's just so oh my God, just ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh boy.
So
Okay.
good.
That's
But
a
it's-
long discussion on this show, The Room.
It's so awesome.
That said, for myself, Everything Everywhere All at Once is a 10, mostly because it made me weep. And I'm talking like
Yeah.
a weepathon. So that usually will elevate a movie to the point where I want to watch it again and love it. And wife weep with me. So 10 out of 10. Kid me would have loved it just because I loved all the Mindbender stuff. So even if I hadn't gotten it, I've been like, I get it. Probably would have like I got it. Because you do that when you're young. Or at least some of us do. That said,
Mr. Marvelly, what's your rating of it so
what
far?
do you think you will rate it?
my thoughts on this film is it's everything, everywhere, all at once.
That's
Well
true.
said.
That's true.
Well said.
I was like, yo,
With backdoor work.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Backdoor work. I didn't mean to say it that way, but it will live in infamy.
It will.
That's okay.
I will
okay.
tell you, I will just say this: if this movie is not everywhere, is everything everywhere all at once, I'm going to be disappointed.
Right.
It's kind of like
it sounds like I won't be though.
when
Oh, yeah.
Jordan Peele's Nope comes out. If I don't say Nope when watching that movie, I'm going to be disappointed. I have to.
Okay.
I have to want to say that. I have to be inclined to say it. So
Is it Daniel Yo or what's his name that played Glenn on Walking Dead?
Oh,
Dang it.
Steven Yeun.
Stephen Yu. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So seeing him in that cowboy outfit, that already had the note for me.
Nope.
I can't handle that cowboy outfit. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. We don't know what movies we'll be doing next week because we haven't talked about it yet. But you guys announcement on our Discord. If you're not following Mr. Marvelite, all the movie things, or myself, Mr. Snippets, or our missing co-host tonight, Black Girl Marvel, please follow us all on all social networks, as well as Superhero Talk. He's got some great TikTok content and comic related content.
Nerd Initiative.
And Nerd Initiative. Oh yeah, no, it's good. It's good. As
All
follows,
Nerd Initiative,
yeah, and follow Nerd Initiative on all platforms, and even some other upcoming things that you guys. Can look
If
forward
you
to.
love like C+ level content, follow Superhero Talk. For good stuff, follow Nerd Initiative.
He's got 5 times the followers as me. I
Wait,
think
wait.
that says something about his
Yeah.
content.
Wait,
But whatever.
Michael, you're doing computer programming?
C++, yeah, CSS, all that stuff like that. Yeah.
No, listen, listen,
Oh,
and I'm
God.
also gonna put this plug in just because if you're not also, Michael is not just with Nerd Initiative, he's not just superhero talk, but also short boxed. If you
Yes.
know anything about like comic books, and I will tell you right now, his videos this week have put me through so much anxiety because he's been breaking the
Oh man, I know.
rated comic books so he can get things signed. It is extremely
Dang.
nerve-wracking, but extremely satisfying at the same time.
And he's
Right.
touching them. Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
Open the pages.
I
I will say
know.
that the thing also is that's really bad is I have caught the bug of wanting to like get that. So I also got on like Whatnot. So I'm like buying like raw, like
Mm.
cheaper raw books because I want to now. I just love diving into them now. And so there's like some books that I've had for a while that I'm like, do I crack the slab? And like I'm really thinking about it.
So,
Like,
Michael,
Wait, is your Secret War still slabbed?
mine?
Yes.
Yes.
they sell them in you
I
don't
know.
you can just go get the old books. You don't
It's
have to go
also
crack
like,
Look
them.
at a
but it's
trade paperback. Yeah.
Right.
It's like
I'm
playing
the
with
kind of guy who
matches.
loves so I love seeing I also don't mind if they've had like writing on them or whatever.
Mm,
Like
mhm.
I love the history of it and also like the smell of the old paper and like the I just
Yeah.
think it's just a cool experience. And so like this could be bad. This
Can
could
I
end
tell
up
you one of the things that I miss the most about older comics, like just the ones I had, were those little catalogs inside the page where it was like
Yeah.
you could buy like the spy device or like I loved those. Like I can't tell you how many times I was saving up for things and then lost the catalog. And
Oh man.
it was just the coolest thing. Like the stuff that they would sell. It's like pure nostalgia.
I was going through, and then I'll shut up again. But I was going through like either an 80s or 90s book. I forgot what it was. I think it was like early 90s, and it's like missed opportunities. They used to have the listings of the books they had at the local comic shops, like the ones that were advertising in the books, the back of them and inside. And they're like, yeah, Secret Wars, $1.25, and they're like all these different books that they
Oh,
had.
yep.
And it's just like it's infuriating. But they're like, oh, Spider-Man 129 or whatever. They're like, oh, $25 first Punisher. Like, and I'm just looking at these things and I'm like, oh my lord, oh man.
Oh, it gets
It's
spendy.
like,
Man.
It gets wild too. And nowadays, with all the speculation, you get people like, "Oh, well, this is first appearance of this character. Let me pick up 20 copies of that." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's good luck. You got to flip that book right away, or you're not going to make your money
Mhm.
back." So it's pretty
Oh,
interesting.
but I will tell you, if you and this is just like for the audience or whatever, if you've not gone to a convention and you just go to the comic book, like we were amazed when we were at Awesome Con, the number of like duplicates of certain comics. Like you could buy them for $5 at one comic shop. The one like down the hall was selling them for like $15. So
Yeah.
like you're like, I
Oh.
want to buy it from this guy and then sell it to that guy over there.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's just amazing.
It's
It's just never.
yeah.
My friend went to we'll have him on Nerd Initiative soon. He runs a nonprofit for like children's literacy, but he went to Heroes Con that was happening, which is one of the really good ones for just comics. Like Awesome Con, I think was amazing for a mix of things like art. And Heroes Con is literally like a really great comic, and he went and bought I think $10 to $15 books that he wants to donate to us to give, like whatever, like to raffle off to like kids and stuff. And I think that's the nostalgia I get where like you're never gonna be in bad shape. And to what Tony said, like we went to a bunch of different things and I was picking out $5 books and I was like, this is just fun. It's good, clean
Yeah,
fun. You get like a $5 like whatever book and just kind of go through it, read it, and like enjoy it. And like
We did see two amazing fantasy 15s though.
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice.
$33,000 and $66,000.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
god.
wouldn't doubt it.
big deal.
And that means they weren't even in that great a shape then if they were only that low.
I think one was like 4.6 and the other one was like
Whoa.
So yeah, so mid-grade, like, yeah, no, that's crazy. Okay, so we could talk about comics for a while. You do have some comic nerds on this panel. That said, this has been episode 34 of The Real Study Season 1. Season 2 will be coming up faster than you think, so look for that. We will have a new look and a new everything everywhere all at once. I had to do it. We did not drop
No
our
backdoor
F
work.
bomb tonight, which was really weird.
Oh,
So that
fuck.
feels
Oh.
perfect. That said,
There
we're
you
going to be rating the Raven Armed. He is doing Jack Sparrow as always, and he will entertain you now that we are not. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Hi, everybody.
Bye, guys.
And we got like 8 seconds, so it's like this weird little bit at the end where we're
No,
here,
do
but
the
we're not
silence.
here.
Just
It's,
stare
you know,
in silence. At the
Yeah.
screen.
Okay, that was boring. I can't do that. So, good night.
The lack of the F
What are they
bomb.
do with this? What final words? Backdoor stuff.
Oh no,
Yeah.
it happened. I already hit it. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you
Damn.
had final words. All right.
I was gonna say the lack of the